This is Governor J.B. Pritzker pictured alongside a peacekeeper. 6 days after this photo was taken, court records claim this man, listed as both Keller and Kellen McMiller, was part of a violent crash and grab on Michigan Avenue that killed a young father-to-be. Chicago police say it was a squad of 7 who shattered the Michigan Avenue storefront of Louis Vuitton and sped off with hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of designer goods, killing a father on September 11th. Police say this man, listed as both Keller and Kellen McMiller, pictured here for a prior arrest, was one of the fleeing thieves. Court records show McMiller had outstanding warrants in Cook County, Florida, Wisconsin, and Indiana.
If we can solve the problem.
Days earlier, McMiller had posed with Governor J.B. Pritzker at an event with Peacekeepers. In a statement to ABC7 in response to our email asking about the picture with McMiller, Pritzker's office said in part, "We were extremely troubled to learn that this individual was arrested for his alleged involvement in this serious crime, and we expect them to be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law." McMiller is charged with murder, burglary, and fugitive from justice in the deadly crash and grab on Michigan Avenue. Court records reveal an extensive and violent criminal background, including drug charges, domestic battery, armed robbery, and probation violations in Cook County. He was charged with battery against a police officer and resisting arrest in Miami-Dade County last year. A signed warrant indicated McMiller was violating supervision. Governor Pritzker's office included this photo with McMiller, which has since been scrubbed as part of a press release touting the success of the Peacekeepers program in reducing violent crime. The Peacekeepers initiative receives tens of millions of dollars in government funding each year. McMiller was working as what's called a participant in Peacekeepers with the group Public Equity.
You ever look at something and just realize that this don't add up? Because when I saw this picture of Governor J.B. Pritzker smiling next to a man who just days later would be arrested for murder in one of the most violent smash and grabs Chicago has seen in recent history. But this video isn't about the photo. It's about what the photo represents, because that one image, it tells a much deeper story about what's wrong with our cities, who's really benefiting from the chaos, and why so many communities stay broken while the budgets get bigger. And we're not just talking about Chicago. We're talking about LA, Baltimore, Philly, New York, all of it. Different cities, same finesse. Now look, emotions aside, let's break down this logically, because if you care about your families or your communities in our country, here's the basic formula of what's happening. A city is overwhelmed by crime, murders, carjackings, robberies. People are scared to walk down their own streets. Politicians don't want to seem like they're over policing, so they roll out these new programs. And these are usually branded as community violence intervention or peacekeepers. And millions, sometimes tens of millions of taxpayer dollars are handed over to nonprofits and local organizations to hire so-called violence interrupters. These interrupters are often people from the streets, some with real criminal histories. And there's little to no vetting, no real oversight, and no consistent results. And the stats get played with, the press releases go out, and the politicians deliver victory. Meanwhile, people are still dying, businesses are closing, families are moving out. So ask yourself this: if these programs work, why are things getting worse? Why are they getting worse? Why does the crime rate spike right after a new initiative is funded? Because here where it gets dark, because you got to see it clearly. The violence, that's not just a problem to leaders, it's also a business model. Because the worse things get, the more funding they can request. They say we need more resources to fight the root causes. Then they take those resources, taxpaying dollars, and funnel them to the same people who are often still tied to the same streets that are causing the chaos in the first place. And when someone gets exposed like McMiller here, they act shocked. Oh, we had no idea. But they did know, or at least they should have. And you can't tell me with all this surveillance, facial recognition, background checks, and databases in 2025, they accidentally handed a Peacekeeper shirt to a guy with active warrants in multiple states. Let's not play dumb.
a chance to be part of the solution instead of being part of the problem.
Peter Cunningham works with another organization, Chicago Cred, who also receives state funding for the Peacekeepers initiative.
Do you check and see if they have an active criminal record when you bring people in to be participants?
No, we don't. We check to see if they have the relationships that would make them effective in the community. And the data clearly shows that they do.
So to be clear, there's no formal criminal vetting process.
No, we know that many of them are justice involved. If we try to eliminate people who are justice involved, we wouldn't find the people who could actually do this work.
Now, to be clear, McMiller did not work with Chicago Cred, and both Peter Cunningham, with whom we spoke, and Governor Pritzker say they did not know McMiller personally. The Cook County State's Attorney's Office tells the I-Team McMiller is still in the hospital tonight for injuries related to that crash on Michigan Avenue. That's why he's not yet appeared before a judge on those most recent charges.
Right. Again, this all still has to go through the justice system as well.
It sure does.
Now, this is the thing, right?
Charged with murder.
This is the thing. If there's no real vetting process and you guys don't go through no background checks to make sure these peacekeepers don't have a violent criminal record, then how do you know that they're actually is contradicting? Because if you don't vet for those you choose to be a peacekeeper, then they could be the same individuals you think are peacekeepers, the ones that are actually causing the chaos in the first place. It's just ignorant. It's ignorant to the residents all the way around. You're using taxpayer dollars, which is the residents in Chicago who pay taxes to fund these things. And you mean to tell me you don't have no common decency or courtesy to make sure the people that are peacekeepers go through a background check to make sure that they're not the ones causing the chaos? Because then you'll be able to at least justify that this individual had no type of record in regards of creating chaos or stirring up chaos that we're trying to prevent. So let's pause and zoom out, because this isn't just about politics. This is about values. Because if you don't vet what you have or what you value, you invite destruction. You wouldn't let a random stranger babysit your kid just because they know the neighborhood. You wouldn't give your house keys to someone just because they seem like they changed. So why are we letting people with no proven integrity whatsoever shape the future of our communities just because they have street ties? It's not empowerment, that's negligence. Forgiveness is one thing. Redemption is real, but accountability comes first. You don't hand someone a badge and a paycheck without verifying their character. That's not smart, that's not compassionate, that's just lazy leadership. Now, here's the cold truth. These politicians, if you put this story compared to you put this story aligned with what Mayor Brandon Johnson is saying, Governor J.B. Pritzker is saying that crime is going down, well, you would consider that these politicians don't care about the results. They care about optics, because optics get headlines, optics get votes, optics keep the money flowing, because then you're able to have these programs. But you can't say you care if you're not vetting out what you value, like I said. So they say we're working with the community. Meanwhile, the community is living in fear, and the kids are afraid to walk to school. Parents are skipping night shifts because it's not safe to go home at night. They got to be at home at a certain time before it get dark. The street lights come on. Seniors are getting robbed in their own driveways. And why they suffer in Chicago, politicians are posting photos at press conferences standing next to reformed peacekeepers who in some cases are still doing dirt on the side. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. Defund the police. Sound good in theory, right? Reallocate funds, invest in prevention, build community trust. But in practice, it's turned into take money from trained officers and give them to untrained people with checkered past and hope for the best, like you see with this individual, this McCullen guy, or McMiller guy. Sorry, McMiller. So is this a recipe for disaster? It's not reform. And listen, I'm not saying police departments are perfect, but there's a big difference between reform and removal, between accountability and abandonment. And if you want better policing, invest in better training, better standards, better leadership. But you don't rip the whole system out and replace it with vibes, hashtags, and folks you don't even bother to background check. So, with that being said, let me know your guys' thoughts down in the comments below. On that note, family, peace.